Like I said, we'll be done. That's fine. Yeah, we got some good stuff.
And what you got from last year was.
Okay.
There you go.
Yes, sir.
I call this meeting to order, regularly scheduled meeting of the Transportation Policy Committee on today's date, Thursday, October 23rd, 2025 at 12:30 p.m. Welcome you all here today, those that are here and those who are joining us online. And with that, we'll go ahead and do the roll call.
Let's start with Bullock County. Here. City of Charlestown. City of Jeffersontown. Here. City of Jeffersonville.
Here.
City of New Albany.
Here.
Where? City of Shively. Where? City of St. Matthews. Here. Clark County.
Here.
Absolutely. Thank you guys. Floyd County. NDOT Central Office. NDOT Seymour. Jefferson County. Hi, Julie. Gotcha. Jefferson County League of Cities. Thank you for being here, Mayor. KYTC. KYTC Central Office, I should say. All right, can we move on? Louisville Metro Government.
Mike King's here.
Hello, Mike. Louisville Regional Airport Authority. Yeah. Hello, Daryl. Oldham County. I think Jim just texted on the chat. So Jim and I want to welcome Bo Glass to the TPC as well. So Jim and Bo, thank you guys for joining us. Town of Clarksville. I think Kevin told us he wasn't going to make it today. Does that sound right? Yeah. And then Tark.
Yeah.
Thank you, Anita. And then for our advisory members, KYTC District 5. I'll take a figure on top. And I'm gonna take a look. I see Kathy McCallum from NDOT. Thank you for joining us, Kathy.
Correct. Welcome.
And I think that got everybody. If I missed anybody or if anybody joins late, we'll recognize them when we're done. So thank you all for being here today. And we most certainly have a quorum.
Great. All right. Well, we'll just move right on with our agenda. Next up is the approval of the minutes of the September TPC meeting minutes. Hope you had a chance to look those over. If you have any questions or discussion on that. If not, I'll need a motion to approve those meeting minutes. Motion Catlin, do we have a second?
Second.
Any other questions? If none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? Motion carried. The minutes are approved. Next item on our agenda, item number 3, we have our public comment period.
Yes.
Greg has that for us.
We did not receive any public comments prior to the meeting, not seeing anything in the Q&A, but if they come up, I'll bring them up in other business.
And how about our public involvement report,
Yes.
the next thing?
Absolutely, we'll go through here. The outreach report for the month of September. Good news on the website side of things, we did see numbers rise on all 3 of our pages. So we had in September over 200 visitors for our main page. We had 37 visitors to our MTP page and 163 visitors to our TIP page. Social media wise, while we did see a slight drop in our Facebook numbers, 11 posts, 1,600 views, 1,300 impressions and interactions, those are still good, just slightly down from last month. We did see increases in both Twitter as well as a huge increase in Instagram. So 14 posts, over 1,000 impressions for Twitter, and Instagram seeing over 1,000 impressions and 35 interactions. So that is good news from that front. Like to see those numbers continue to increase on our Instagram page. We had several public comment opportunities. One of them was our call for projects that Brady's going to be talking about next month, but I wanted to go through and talk about a little bit with the outreach. This is the second time we've done this. And again, a very successful campaign. We had that started on the 2nd, it ended on September 22nd. We had 33 comments from it. We also had 67 project likes on the map. And then those comments were sent to the TTC working group to help assist in the decision-making process. As I mentioned, this is the second time we've done this. This is something we're gonna be adding to the participation plan and we're gonna be doing going forward. So this gives an opportunity for the public to kind of see the projects that you all are putting in and be able to provide comments on those and try to help the TTCC make those working groups make those better decisions. So we're gonna have those next month, because they met in October, so that was the outreach on that. Then finally on that thing, the US 42 intersection safety and operations study that received the most likes and comments. We also had the Unified Planning Work Program. We didn't receive any comments on that. Andy presented that last month. The participation plan is ongoing until November the 14th, but that started last month as well. Event wise, we went to a couple things, the Middletown Family Film Festival, that was a 2-day event, and then also the Russell Neighborhood Family Block Party. That wraps up my report. I'll take any questions if anybody has any.
Anybody have any questions? Okay, great. Thank you very much for that report. Next up on our agenda, item number 5 is our planning memorandum of agreement update from Andy.
Yes, sir. In your meeting packet, there was a link. I hope everybody had a chance to look at it. That link contains an updated version of our, what we call our planning MOA, planning memorandum of agreement. This, next slide, please, Mayor. This is an agreement that's federally required. That is, the feds will make ensure that each MPO has something like this on the books. It's something that establishes the priorities of the responsibilities, I should say, for several of us agencies. One is KIPTA, one is TARC, one is KYTC, and the other is NDOT. We update this thing periodically. Our last update was in late 2022, and so this is a relatively minor update. Next slide, please. What are the changes, you might ask, and this is important. All of them, I think, are minor, but yet somewhat important in each and every one of them. The first is, as we've talked about several times at this meeting, the urbanized area changed after the 2020 census. We no longer have 0.1 square miles of Harrison County, Indiana in there, so we took that out of there. And that you might say, hey, the 2020 census, you should have done that in 2022. Well, as some of you all know, it happened slowly. And Chris will even be talking about one of the byproducts of that with some of the functional classification changes that are, believe it or not, byproducts of the decennial census. The second bullet point there says we removed outdated references to old federal transportation bills. Well, that's important. Make sure we have the current ones on there, and or we talk about them generically so that we don't have to update this next time just to put the new one in there. We just reference it more generically. I think that'll save us an update in the future. I hope it does anyways. We made a couple changes that just better describe the process of the amendments, the schedules, nothing out of the ordinary. It just lines up with the process and the way we do things here. I kept it when it comes to those amendments. And then last but not least is we remove references to the term environmental justice and then references to the related executive orders surrounding environmental justice and those types of issues. Our federal partners and state partners are adamant that we make sure we get some of that language out of our documentation. And so those things are no longer a part of what we well, at least we promised to do, I guess, that we're no longer a part of that. Next slide, please. So again, this is, I think, a minor yet essential update. So pending the approval here today, I think the plan would be to circulate this new MOA to those 3 planning partner agencies, that is NDOT, KYTC, and TARC, for their approval by their executive leadership and or their legal counsel. And then hopefully I'll bring it back to you guys in a month or maybe first of the year and say, hey, we finalized it and this one's into full force. So if you have to answer any questions about the planning MOA, what it is, what we've changed, or anything else of the sort. So that concludes my report. Action is requested.
Any questions? If none, this requires action. So I would entertain a motion to approve the planning memorandum of agreement update. And then Mr. Boying, in a second.
Second.
Any other questions? If none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion is carried. Thank you very much. Thanks, Andy.
Thank you.
All right, next is the phase shift. you'll give us the recommendations on that. Yes, from Brady.
So the projects we're gonna be talking about today, they revolve around this sentence in the KIP's project management guidebook that states that the initial design phase of a project must be obligated in the year in which it was programmed in the tip. So there's a couple of projects I'm gonna show you first that had initial design phases in fiscal year 25, but were not able to obligate and based on kind of a reshuffling of priorities for Jefferson Town, we decided to relinquish the funds for these two projects. You can see the Larson Trail Signalized Improvements, $1 million program to STBG, and then the Taylorsville Road Shared Use Path, a little over $900,000 program for CRP. So this is just a notification basically that these projects, based on the project management guidebook rules, their funding has been removed from KIP's programming at this time. These projects never started, so there's no issue of having to pay back any federal dollars because there's nothing that's been obligated with these projects yet. And so that's just kind of informational for you. One other note is that top project that shows $1 million of STBG funds. Because those funds were relinquished by Jefferson Town, those were able to be considered for reprogramming in the call for projects that I will present to you next month. So, so that will be presented next month. There are a couple of projects that we do need an action on. These are essentially formalities. These are projects that technically, by the letter of the law, break the project management guidebook rules, but in actuality, are not really a problem at all. So this one is the Reconnecting West Louisville project that KYTC has some funds for. It's also the same project that they received external federal grant funds for a lot more. KIPTA put in $1 million in their grant. They've received many more than that. Is it 30 or 14 million or something in that range?
It's 15 million state and 15 million that's federal, reconnecting communities.
That's right, yeah, so their initial PE phase, which was the initial design phase according to guidebook, was programmed in fiscal year 25. KYTC actually already requested that the funding be obligated in at the end of fiscal year 25, but due to the timing of FEMA being shut down at the end of fiscal year 25, it's actually gonna happen in fiscal year 26, and so it's either already obligated as we speak or will be very soon. And so this is just a formality of saying, yes, it's okay to shift in the tip, the funds from fiscal year 25 to fiscal year 26. This project.
If I can speak, we verified today that those funds are authorized, and so might be a moot point.
So it's really, this is just a formality of following the process. This project is ongoing. Thank you, Tom.
Right, and we were really at the, just trying at the 11th hour to get that funding request put in, and we did, and it just right at the edge of the limit.
Yeah. Thank you.
I do have a few other updates for that project if folks are interested. This is $1 million for preliminary engineering work, and our goal is to get the preliminary engineering work done in this next 12 months. And so we're really trying to be sensitive with the time. And 12 months from now, we anticipate entering into this agreement with the Federal Highways US DOT for that larger amount of money for final design and construction. So we expect this to be a pretty fast moving design project, and we're already negotiating the contract with the consulting firm, which is going to be HDR, who did the planning work that led to the grant award. So we're real excited about that. And so it's moving fast and furious, and we're really glad that the authorization came through yesterday like it did. And then one other thing I wanted to mention was that one of the goals of the planning study, we used $1 million worth of not actually $600,000 worth of SLO dollars to do an initial planning study to not only try for this Reconnecting Communities grant, which we were awarded, but also to look for other awards. And we we worked with the city of Louisville and the Corps and put in an application for what's called a flap grant to potentially reconnect the abandoned piece or closed section of the Louisville Loop that goes behind Shawnee Park. So this planning effort is money well spent. And and we're trying to move as quickly as possible.
Thank you, Tom. Okay, so the second project to bring up here is a TARC project. It's the bus stop access improvements from Muhammad Ali to Chestnut Street corridor. This project had 2025 PE funds, CRP funds for preliminary engineering. We're gonna need to move those to fiscal year 26. It's only $100,000 worth. The only reason we need to move them to fiscal year 26 is there was an error in the most recent admin mod of the PIP. That was, PIP staff's fault, I guess. So we made a mistake in the admin mod that we have to correct today or in the next couple of days as Chris finalizes the this month's admin mod. Once that is fixed, then I'll be able to request to flex those $100,000 from FHW into the FTA, so TARC can begin the project. So in other words, this has to break the guidebook rules and moving to 26, but it's not TARC's fault at all. That of the delay there, so don't want to punish them at all for that. So those are the two projects that would be. They need action that give basically special approval that they can base it to fiscal year 26. And that's it.
Any questions? This does require action, like Mr. Hill explained. So we need a motion to accept those phase shifts and the recommendations for those phase shifts, exemption for those projects. So I need that motion. Do I have a motion? Motion. Have a second? Second. Any other questions? If none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you, Mr. Hill. Okay, our next item is the roadway functional classification update. Chris?
Folks, I have a presentation and there is a list that you should be able to find in your meeting packet. All right, so in review, we submitted a list of proposed updates for Jefferson, Bullitt, and Owen counties to KYTC and Clark-Floyd counties to NDOT back in May of 2025. The proposed updates were identified during 5 separate working meetings in each of these counties. And we followed the FHWA guidance that have recently been updated and the 2020 adjusted urban area boundary updates, as Andy mentioned earlier. And we used our local knowledge of region for our recommendations. It's important to note that the state and federal agencies determine if the proposed changes are going to be approved. And the feedback and changes from NDOT were presented back in September at the TTCC meeting. Now the KYTC updates have been received, and that's what I'm going to present today. And again, I've got the full list in the meeting kit. Any changes to the highway functional classification associated with the adjusted urban area boundary, that must be approved by the state and also FHWA by December 29th of 2025, which is 3 years after the urban area boundary census defined updates were released. In review, all roadways are assigned a classification of 1 through 7 urban or 1 through 7 rural. The hierarchy has the interstates at the top as 1 urban or rural. Next are the other freeways and expressways. Then number 3s are the principal arterials, 4s the minor arterials, 5s the major collectors, 6 is the minor collectors, and 7 are the local roads. In most cases, 1 through 6 urban roads are eligible for federal funds, and 1 through 5 rural are eligible for the federal funds. Okay. So this is an overview of our initial submission on the Kentucky side. In total, for Jefferson County, we had 10 proposed proposed updates. For Bullock County, we had 7, and for Oldham County, we had 12. These are all included in the packet listed per county before the KYTC additions. Let me know if you have any questions on my format. It was hard to put this in a readable format with so many. Okay, so all submitted changes were accepted by KYTC. That's the first big news. So everything we just talked about, we get to have all of those. At least on a state level. Big news. Oh, this is a little bit hard to read if you're in the room, but this is a summary of our initial submission, plus in yellow are all of the of what we have currently, and then our initial submission is in the yellow highlighted linear features on that map for Jefferson County. Okay, so the big news is that KYTC added 60 additional updates to Jefferson County. And these updates are included in the packet, and with the volume of updates, we weren't quite anticipating that. We are in the works of looking at them a little bit more in depth with Jefferson County before the final submission goes to FHWA. But it's important to note that we will have to most likely defer to KYTC. However, if there are certain ones that we determine maybe we can request to change them. Okay. So similarly, Bullock County, this is the map of what currently exists plus what we recommended previously. And then KYTC came up with 7 additional updates. There's 3 minor arterials, 1 local road, and 3 minor collectors that they would like to update up a scale. Yes. And I reached out to Bullock County, and those appear to be acceptable. And then finally, Oldham County, this again is the existing plus what we initially recommended here. And then this includes the 3 additional updates that KYTC wanted to add. I reached out to them, and there is perhaps one overlapping change that we might need to work out and discuss with KYTC, but aside from that, they agreed with the changes. And there's no action requested because we have to defer to, in the end, our federal partners on these updates and their guidance. But that's what I have for you all.
Any questions or anything?
It's important to remember some of the things that Chris noted, that KYTC basically only upgraded. Okay, that all that serves to say, okay, more roads are eligible for federal funds, so that's probably okay. And then these other roads that are in that middle of the pack, those are upgraded, you know, based on their opinion on in terms of what they should be. So I don't think it hurts to have them upgraded. You just don't want to upgrade them all at once. And so we were a little bit modest, I guess, in the suggestions in our meetings, and that's okay. It's okay. So remember, they're all being upgraded. Nobody's gonna lose federal funds based on any of these changes. That's
Yeah.
better.
Right.
Yeah,
And
I would just add, appreciate Chris and the KIPTA staff for all the hard work they did on this and being inclusive in this process with us and others. We would, if possible, love to kind of talk over some of the the justification behind the decisions for KYTC, especially on the metro-owned roads where they kind of disagreed with our thoughts on what those should be. So if possible, we'd love to set up a meeting with them at some point before these go for final approval. I think Chris was talking about maybe helping out with that already. So just wanted to kind of publicly say it here.
That's right.
I would encourage, places like J-Town and St. Matthews to take a look too, to make sure, because most of KYTC's suggestions were on state-owned roads, but not all of them. Many of them were, but not all of them. So pay particularly close attention to the ones on these lists that might be city or county owned, whatever the case might be.
And just comment back to Chris on those.
Yes, that'd be fine, Kurt.
Yeah, I think it could be assumed that they use VMT or some level of maybe consistency statewide.
One thing we've noticed over the years, and again, in this process, is some of the differences in maybe the NDOT approach and the KYTC approach on this, some of KYTC's seems to be in favor of upgrading a lot of roads based on volumes or otherwise, and NDOT had a little bit more of a modest approach that.
You only designate actual active physical roadway segments?
Yes, it has to be what exists now,
Okay.
not what is planned in the future.
Not right of way that's dedicated but unimproved. That won't qualify, just whatever's physically on the ground.
Correct.
I would say so.
Correct, and to take that a slight step further, we shouldn't upgrade it because of what we want it to be. If it's on the ground now, but it's not all grown up yet, but we don't want to designate it on what it's gonna be when it's all grown up. We probably want to designate it on kind of what fits for this, plus or minus 5 years from where we're sitting right now.
And the one I'm referencing is like Plantside Drive, if you look at it, is extension. On here you have from Tucker to Rio, which is in the ground. But the right way's been dedicated from Rio almost down to Telfer Road, but it's unimproved. So that's being designated as dysfunctional class, would it make the extension that's already dedicated available for federal funding then?
That's one of the great transportation planning chicken and the egg arguments.
Yeah.
Meaning, if a road must be functionally classified as 6 or above to get federal funds. Well, a road that doesn't exist yet isn't a 6 or above. It's not allowed to be, so is it allowed? And so it does in the end. We get to the right spot in the end. So that's a
The
great.
right of way that triggers it or the physical road in the ground that triggers it, yeah.
It is part of the design process to design the roadway as a collector or an arterial. And those functional classes come with them certain criteria. And when we do a forecast, we speculate what kind of volume the road's supposed to carry, percentage of trucks. And then that really helps us formulate what kind of functional class roadway it would be. And I'm pretty sure that the plant side extension, at least in the planning phase, has been would be designed as like a collector, not an arterial.
Any other questions?
But collectors are eligible for federal aid. It's just local roads and rural non-collectors are the only ones that don't get federal aid.
Thank you, folks.
Thank you, Chris, for the update on the functional classifications. Thank you.
Thanks everybody for helping out, putting it together.
Next item on our agenda is item number 8. It's the 2027 travel demand model. And Aaron has that for us.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to provide an update to the KPLES travel demand model activity. KPLES is currently in the process of developing a new model scenario for our travel demand model. This initiative is driven by the requirements set forth by the EPA for transportation conformity regulation. The new scenario will be the year 2047. That's according to 5-40 of the Code of Federal Regulations, Section 93.106. The first horizon year in the transportation plan must not be greater than 10 years from the base year of validation. Since our current base year is 2019, the first horizon year must not go further than 2029. At the moment, our first horizon year is 2025, but after the end of this calendar year, we will not be able to use that model again. That first horizon year. Then the next horizon year is 2030. And if we keep using 2030, that exceeds the 10-year window that the regulation provides. So for us to remain in compliance, KIPA is developing a new 2027 model scenario to serve as the first horizon year until the model is recalibrated. For now, the 2027 year scenario will ensure that KIPA continues to meet the EPA conformity regulation. And KIPA will always continue to provide updates on the new scenario as we progress. Thank you.
Anybody have any questions?
I'd add something to that, just something for everybody to be aware of, the project sponsors, what this is probably gonna mean in the next year or two, is when your projects move from, let's say, 2026 or 2027 to a year that's after that period of time. That's gonna unfortunately trigger an amendment, not an admin mod, so that'll be something we'll have to overcome, but it's the same deal that would have happened this year and last year when it moved beyond 2025. It triggered an amendment because it moves out of an analysis year. So just an early heads up on that. But
And that's why we are also, Chris has been reaching out to many of your agencies to ask questions on certain projects, and thanks for the feedback. So yes.
Anything else from anyone? Okay, thank you very much, Eric. Then the next, we have the administrative modifications for the fiscal year of 2025, fiscal year 2028. If you have that part, please.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm gonna present administrative modification 5 to the 6 to you all. There's a draft in your meeting. And I will send out the final draft after the meeting. So this is a combination of submissions for inclusion to the TIF and also some administrative changes that we wanted to make here. The TPC approval is not required for administrative modifications. This is for information only. Upon later review, one change that will be in the final copy is that I realized that there's no eligible MTP updates. And so in the packet, you'll see administrative modification 5, and then in parentheses, 10 or 30 to the MTP. I'm gonna take that out because very limited modifications can be made to the MTP, and none of these had anything to do with that. Okay, this one is also for Kentucky projects only, and so following this meeting, I'll be sending it to KYTC for the STIP update, but there's no need to send it to NDOT in this case. Okay, so this list of qualifying criteria, most of you have seen before. Admin mods are a more expedited process to update the TIP. In most cases, going back to the MTP discussion, in most cases, it's just for when the total project costs for projects that are in both the TIP and MTP need to be updated. And we're not updating that on any of these projects, so that's why I took that part out. There's 7 changes total, and I do have one question based on an earlier discussion for Tom. I am not sure if I should leave the connecting project, if the ID. Reconnecting West Louisville to the Ohio River project. Should I leave that change in to move the PE from fiscal year 25 to 26? Or remove it, or is that going to?
I don't think it's gonna matter in the grand scheme of things. I think for KIPTA's accounting, at some point you guys are gonna wanna know, did that come out of like fiscal 25 SLO funds or fiscal 26 SLO funds? And I'm not sure that we're gonna know for a while because those funds were authorized as advanced construction funds, which means we're gonna ask to be paid back by the feds in a future year, so that creates all sorts of confusion.
Okay,
So in my opinion, can just put it in there and it's
Okay.
fine. And I
as of now, I have it in, but if that's.
I don't think it's gonna hurt either way to put it in there, and,
Okay.
it's fine.
Okay. All right, I shall leave it in then. And, aside from that, it's a handful of face shifts and just some administrative corrections to funding sources. There's only just 7 changes overall in this one. It's a short and sweet one. I don't have any action requested, but before I walk off, I do wanna give a little reminder that there's just over 2 weeks left to submit project updates that you think might need to go in the next amendment. That deadline that I've sent out at least once before is November 7th for those changes, so. That's all I've got.
Any questions? If none, thank you very much, Ms. Nichols.
Actually, can I ask one of Chris? Sorry, I had a minute to unmute. Chris, I think we had a third phase shift, and I may just call you. I can call you after the meeting to make sure it did or didn't need to be included.
Yeah, please.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, next item number 10, it's the end of the fiscal year 2025 funding. Mr. Hill.
So we're talking about both states, most of the information today is for Kentucky, as I talked about Indiana. For their fiscal year ended several months ago. Which he's just ended, so just a little summary of fiscal year 25 and how things went with our NPO dedicated projects. So in fiscal year 25, KIPTA was suballocated a little bit over $23 million in STBG funds specifically. KIPTA sponsored in total obligated $14.5 million across several different projects for a variety of different phases, design phases, right away phases, facility construction, etc. That's about 63% of our 25 sub allocation. In terms of our STBG program, there were 4 projects that had construction funds obligated to either soon be built or in the process of being built now. Bluegrass Commerce Park, Bike Ped Trail Phase 2, right around here, or Jeffersontown. KY 1932 Chenoweth Lanes, KYPC project. Northeast Louisville Loop, MET Section 2, Beckley Station to Bertram Road, Louisville Metro project on the east end. And then U of L pedestrian improvements, 88 curb cut and ramp improvements projects, University of Louisville project. Those are 4 projects that are either in construction right now or about to begin construction. They have had their funding all good. Okay, some of the bad news of what I just shared is that while we did obligate several $14.5 million worth of projects, that doesn't equal the amount that we were suballocated this year, which means we've dug ourselves into more of a hole. Our carryover balance has increased over this fiscal year as opposed to decreasing, unfortunately. So the end of the fiscal year carryover balance is projected at $145 million for the end of fiscal year 26.
How many dollars did you say?
145 million.
Oh, is that what that said?
And Andy, that doesn't count our suballocation for fiscal year 26, which is an additional, we're getting another $23.5 million. So there's gonna be about $170 million available to obligate in fiscal year 27. That's a lot of money. So some good news. Obviously, we're still working on cutting that number down in the future. Some potential good news in that regard is the second bullet point is there are a couple of projects that have been on our books for a very long time. and are pretty expensive. Little Metro River Road project and Old County's LaGrange Underpass project. These are both projects that last I've heard are fairly close to getting to a construction letting. They're anticipating construction in fiscal year 26 at this point. If both of those projects actually get to a construction letting in fiscal year 26, that's going to be around $40 million of funding that gets obligated, that gets taken away from our books. And that's just those two projects. And then any other projects that we have another $10 to $15 million obligated on top of that. We could be seeing the best obligation year in fiscal year 26 that KIPT has had in over a decade, potentially. Once again, a lot of it rides on these big construction projects that are hopefully getting close to where they need to be. Another little piece of interesting good news, I guess, in terms of our fiscal year 25 SDBG funds is about 75% of the dollars obligated to projects are going towards projects that are either bike ped projects or are roadway projects that include bike ped elements. So we are working towards our complete streets goals that we had talked about before, and hitting a lot of points in our NTP long range goals. Once again, of that 75%, that's not 70% of construction dollars, that's 75% of buying right of way, projects in general. We're using money towards those goals, those projects. In terms of our TA funding in Kentucky, we were sub-allocated almost $2.4 million of TA funds in fiscal year 25, and we obligated about 1.7, almost 1.8 billion dollars in fiscal year 25. So our carryover balance is about a little over $8 million, is what we're projecting at this time. We did have one construction phase that was obligated, and that's the Birdvine Lane Sidewalk Road reconfiguration project for Louisville Metro. In terms of the TA funding, there are a couple of projects that will cut down that balance whenever it is we get to a construction lighting. So we have a couple of different projects that have construction phases that are north of $4 to $5 million that are programmed for 26 and 27 respectively. Whenever we get to the letting for those projects, our carryover balance is going to reduce. But we have so much less money in each year for our TA programs and our CRP programs that we don't really cut into a balance unless we get to a letting for these projects. But when we do, that will be a good day. We're kicked in for the region. In terms of our CRP funding, similar story. We get about $2.7 million of funding, and we obligated about $1.7 million. One other note actually about those TA funds as well is there were several projects that were over programmed. In other words, KIPTA programmed $500,000 for right of way, but a project only needed $100,000 when it came down to actually getting obligation for the phase. So the extra money that wasn't needed is able to go back into the pot of money for future call projects. So that's definitely true with the TA program and a little bit true for the CRP program this year. But we did obligate $7 million worth. Our carryover balance for CRP funds is just over $9 million going into fiscal year 26. A lot of the CRP dollars are riding on Louisville Metro's Ohio River Levee Trail Phase 3. That project has $6.6 million for construction phase currently programmed. So once that gets, same situation, once that gets let, the 9 million carryover balance number goes down real quick. We did have one project that did go to construction, or at least got funds obligated for construction, Northeast Louisville Loop, Section 2, Eastwood Cutoff Improvements Project, say Louisville Metro project, once again, out in the east end. Any questions about any of my Kentucky stuff that they're going over? Otherwise, I'll continue on to our Indiana summary. Indiana, this will be a lot shorter. I've already talked about this before, but just as a reminder, KIPTA was sub-allocated a total of $5.8 million that's commingled, so all 6 funding sources kind of combined with this $5.8 million number. We only obligated officially $776,000 of that 5.8 million in 25. That doesn't really tell the true story, but it does highlight that a lot of our money was tied into the Mount Tabor Road project that was programmed for 4.6 million that ended up not getting to a construction levy. And so because funds don't carry over in Indiana, whenever that happens, that basically means we can't have a good year whenever a construction project fails like that. But we did anticipate that potentially happening. You may remember around this time last year, we had a TPC meeting where we requested a Plan B option, where we were able to put a lot of these potential funds that at the time would potentially fail into other projects and swap them with NDOT's Group 3 funding to give them a little extra life. And so this is not, the answer is a little more complicated than what's shown on the screen, but the general idea is that around $2 million of funds were swapped with Group 3 funding and have either been authorized at this time or have actually been able to be moved to fiscal year 26 and are soon seeking authorization for those funds. So we only spent officially $776,000, but in reality, we really are going to have spent around $3 million of what was planned to be spent in fiscal year 25. NDOT has also helped with a couple of projects in the region, getting construction phases across the finish line, most notably Bethany Bode roundabout project in Bain Park County.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where we sit from the end of fiscal year 25 for Indiana. And this fiscal year and fiscal year 26, we're in a similar state where we have the Bridge 51 bridge replacement project on Blackstone Mill Road that is taking up over $6 million of our federal funds in fiscal year 26. If that project lets successfully, it's going to be a good year for Indiana. If it doesn't, then we're going to have some major problems. But as of right now, it's scheduled for December letting, and everyone I've talked to is fairly confident that that's going well. That's all that I have, unless anyone has any other questions.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you, Mr. Hill. Next item on our agenda is item number 11. This is the Kentucky Indiana Transportation Excellence Award, which we all refer to as PIPE.
Yes, just a reminder that the Kite Award nominations are closing tomorrow. I'll likely take them through the weekend if, I'm a procrastinator at heart, so if there's anybody that doesn't want to do it Monday morning, probably when I'll take it off the website, but you can find those nominations at kipta.org/transportation. It's right there in the front. It's an online form this year. No need to email me anything. It's the form stack. So we've had a few nominees already, so I'd like to see a couple more come in. If all possible, I'd love to have as many to choose from. But like I said, the winner will be announced at the November TPC annual meeting. And we'll let. But if any questions, feel free to reach out to me if you have any about whether your project qualifies or anything like that. Let me know.
Okay, all right, thank you, Greg. All right, MPO Director's Report.
Yes, got a couple things, if I might. First I want to recognize several folks that weren't here at roll call. Cedro Delgado from KYTC Central Office. Thanks for being here. Tanya Higdon from Federal Highways Kentucky is on the line, as is Tracy Lovell from District 5, KYTC, and Brian Davis from Louisville Metro Planning. Thank you all for being here today. Just a fun note, we have 15 of the voting member agencies of 18, so that's pretty good attendance. Thank you all for being here. It means a lot. I also want to introduce Miss Alex Gossman. Alex is our new addition to our GIS staff. Alex joined us just this week. She comes to us from LG&E, and she's real excited. Alex, you want to say hi to everybody?
Hi, I'm happy to be here.
Hopefully everybody gets a chance to work with Alex over the coming weeks and months and years. So we're real excited to have her. Next, I want to say something about this is our last TPC meeting where KIPTA transportation staff will have to walk over here. So by the time we meet again, KIP, the Transportation Division staff will be housed in this building here at the HQ building of KIP this, so it'll be a lot easier. So if you want to come see us one last time in our building down the street, you better hurry up. And then speaking of buildings and places, next month's TPC meeting is the special one, and as usual in November. It's going to be on the Tuesday of Thanksgiving week, Tuesday, November 25th. It's going to be at 9:30 a.m. And it's gonna be at the Jeffersonian. I think a lot of you have been there before. It's the building that's formerly known as the Jeffersontown Community Center, if I'm not mistaken. Does that sound right? It's over here on Taylorsville. So J-Town's gonna host us that day. The 9:30 TPC meeting will be followed by the board meeting, for those of you that take part in the KIPTA Board of Directors meeting. And then after the board meeting, if you're still lucky enough to be around there at that point, there will be a luncheon in that building too. So can't wait to see you all there. And I think that concludes my other business report.
Okay, thank you. All right, does anyone have any other business they wish to bring up or talk, speak about? If not, then we'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Motion second. Got a second? All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anybody, y'all want to stay around a little bit longer? Okay, all right.
Thank you.
Motion carried, we're adjourned. Thank you all for your attendance. Really appreciate those.